The alarms of docking ring C pulsed like a tired heartbeat, echoing through the metal corridors as Rowan Hale jogged toward the emergency hatch. Frontier Outpost 9, held together by rust, recycled air, and hope, rarely saw anything more dramatic than a faulty cargo clamp. But this was different. The message on his toolkit display had been clear: unknown vessel, loss of atmosphere, pilot alive, requesting assistance. Alive. They'd actually added that part as if the outpost couldn't believe it. The hatch slid open with a groan, releasing a stream of icy vapor that brushed against Rowan's face. And then he saw it. A ship unlike anything he'd ever worked on. Its hull shimmered in deep gradients of indigo and silver, as if it had been carved from compressed starlight. Organic curves, no visible seams, technology far beyond human engineering. But none of that hit him as hard as the figure kneeling beside the ruptured conduit. A woman, if woman could even contain what she was. Tall, poised, her skin carrying a faint violet undertone that caught the emergency lighting. Her hair, long, sleek, and metallic black, moved with a slow, fluid motion that didn't match the still air of the bay. She wore a suit that clung to her like living armor, shifting subtly with her breath. She turned at the sound of his footsteps, and Rowan froze. Her eyes were molten gold, not golden, molten, alive with light. And they narrowed at him with irritation, intelligence, and something else, something like disbelief. "You're the mechanic," she asked, her voice low, accented in a way no translator could flatten. "Something like that," Rowan replied, dropping to one knee beside the exposed hull. "What seems to be the problem?" The atmospheric regulator collapsed mid-jump. She crossed her arms, defensive posture, he noted. Diagnostics failed. Twice, I barely held the pressure long enough for landing. Rowan leaned in, examining the sliced conduit. Not frayed, not burst. Cut, cleanly, surgically, sabotage. He swallowed the realization and kept his voice steady. "Well, it's a good thing you came here. This I can fix." "You're certain?" she asked sharply. He glanced up at her. "If I say yes, will you stop glaring at me?" A flicker, an accidental curve of her lips. Not quite a smile, but something close. "Do it," she said. Rowan worked fast. Years of patching failing thrusters and decompression cracks on a half-dead outpost had trained him to improvise miracles with scraps. She watched every movement too closely, like she was expecting him to fail. "So," he said as he clamped the last stabilizer, "you from anywhere humans are allowed to visit." Her gaze sharpened. "No. That a problem? For you. Potentially." The regulator hummed back to life, lighting up in smooth ripples of cyan. She blinked in surprise. "It's functioning," she breathed. "You sound surprised," Rowan said. "I am." She straightened, towering slightly over him. "Most humans would have damaged it further." "I'm not most humans." The words left him before he could stop himself. Her golden eyes fixed on him as though she were recalibrating every assumption she'd made. She reached into a compartment on her suit and pulled out a crystalline credit strip. "How much for the repair?" she asked. Rowan shook his head and pushed it away. "Keep it. Took me 10 minutes. No one refuses compensation from my people." "Well, I guess today's your lucky exception." She stared at him, really stared. The kind of stare that made him feel as if she were peeling back layers he didn't know he had. People like her weren't used to kindness without an angle. "Your name?" she finally asked. "Rowan Hale." She hesitated just long enough for him to notice. "Lyrana," she said quietly. "Lyrana Vey." "Nice to meet you, Lyrana Vey." She stepped back toward the ship's ramp, pausing at the threshold. "A warning, Rowan Hale." Her voice softened without losing its sharpness. "You should forget you met me." "Why?" "Because my presence here is not an accident, and those who sabotaged my ship will not stop." Rowan felt something cold settle in his stomach. "And they would not hesitate to kill anyone who helps me." The ramp lifted. The engines hummed, a sound too smooth, too alive to be human-made. Rowan watched her ship glide out of docking ring C with impossible. Rowan had slept in engine rooms, cargo coils, broken maintenance shafts, and once, during a blackout, inside an empty food dispenser. Frontier Outpost 9 was not a place designed for comfort. Still, waking up the next morning felt different, because all night, through every dream and half-dream, he kept seeing those molten gold eyes. Lyrana Vey. Whoever she was, whatever ship she commanded, whatever danger followed her. She wasn't just passing through. He felt that truth like a pressure change in the air. By midday, Rowan was elbow-deep in a mining tug's thruster assembly when his personal comm chimed. Not the outpost system, the private channel only a few people ever used. He wiped metal dust from his face and answered. Rowan Hale. The voice was crisp, smooth, too polished to belong to anyone on Outpost 9. Who's asking? My name is Director Kessler. I represent the Axiom Engineering Syndicate. Rowan blinked. Axiom was one of the largest human space engineering conglomerates, the kind that built jump gates, dreadnought engines, atmospheric terraforming arrays. What would Axiom want with a frontier mechanic? A recommendation, Kessler replied. A highly respected source suggested you for a senior position at our Meridian Spire facility. We'd like to conduct an interview. Rowan's pulse spiked. Meridian Spire. That's one of the most advanced research installations in human territory, yes. We believe your unconventional skill set would be useful. Rowan frowned. Unconventional. He wasn't unconventional. He was underpaid, overworked, and making repairs with tools older than he was. And then it clicked. The timing, yesterday's sabotage, yesterday's visitor. Who recommended me? Rowan asked. I'm not permitted to disclose that. But Rowan already knew. Lyrana. Her warning echoed in his mind, you should forget you met me. But apparently she hadn't forgotten him. Kessler continued, transport arrives at 500 station time, expenses covered. Will you attend? He should have said no, he should have demanded answers, he should have hung up. But he looked around, the rusting tug, the flickering lights, the stale recycled air that always tasted faintly of copper. The half-written letter he kept meaning to send to his sister lying unread in his pocket. And Rowan, despite his better judgment, felt something he hadn't in years, possibility. Yeah, he said quietly, I'll be there. The transport that arrived wasn't a civilian shuttle. It was armored, military grade, overkill for a job interview. The pilot said nothing during the entire hyperspace trip, her face blank, posture rigid, eyes forward. Rowan spent the journey watching the stars streak past the viewport, his stomach twisting with a mix of dread and anticipation. Meridian Spire shimmered into view like a crystalline tower suspended above a lush world of green continents and sapphire oceans. It was beautiful, intimidating, unreachable, exactly the kind of place someone like him didn't belong. Director Kessler met him at the docking platform, sleek and immaculate in a charcoal uniform. Mr. Hale, Kessler said with a tight smile, we appreciate your promptness this way. They walked past holographic displays of Axiom's greatest achievements, quantum reactors, planetary shields, anti-grav arrays. Every image was a reminder of how out of place Rowan Hale truly was. The position, Kessler explained, involves integration of hybrid systems, both human and foreign. Rowan slowed. Foreign, he asked. Yes. Kessler's voice was too neutral. We work with technology acquired through diplomatic exchange. Diplomatic, his chest tightened. The door ahead slid open, and Rowan's breath caught. Lyrana Vey stood inside the conference chamber. Not in her form-fitting armor, but in an elegant dark suit with subtle metallic patterns. Her hair was drawn back, revealing the sharp lines of her jaw, her posture tall and sovereign. And those molten gold eyes, calm, unreadable, lifted toward him. Hello again, Rowan Hale. His stomach dropped through the floor. You're the one who recommended me, he said. Of course. She stepped forward, gaze steady. It's inefficient to allow talent to waste away in rust and dust. Director Kessler cleared his throat. Mr. Hale, may I introduce? Lyrana Vey of the Astroline Dominion, she said smoothly, cutting him off. Rowan stared. I thought you were some kind of pilot. Her expression didn't change. I am many things, pilot is one of them. And the others? Director Kessler stepped in quickly, too quickly. That is restricted information. No, Lyrana said. He deserves the truth. She turned fully to Rowan, golden eyes intense. I am the High Representative of the Astroline Dominion's Core Council, descendant of the Sovereign Line. My decisions influence 34 worlds. Rowan felt his throat go dry. I fixed your ship, he whispered. Yes, a faint smile touched her lips, and you refused payment. Director Kessler continued. We are offering you a leadership position, Chief Integration Specialist in our new Hybrid Technology Division. Housing, benefits, full clearance. Rowan shook his head. Why me? Lyrana answered before Kessler could. Because the people who sabotaged my ship want me isolated, vulnerable. Your presence disrupts their calculations. So this is dangerous, Rowan said. Yes. For me. Yes, and you still brought me here. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. I don't bring anyone into my orbit lightly. Rowan felt his heartbeat stumble. He looked between Lyrana and the window overlooking Meridian's glowing cities. For the first time in a long time, his life didn't feel small. "Can I think about it?" he asked quietly. "You have until tomorrow morning," Lyrana said. But her eyes said something else. "Choose wisely." Rowan spent the night staring. Rowan's first day at Meridian Spire felt like stepping into the beating heart of a new civilization. The facility was a cathedral of glass and alloy, curved walkways suspended over glowing reactors, engineers from a dozen worlds moving between laboratories, drones gliding like silent silver birds. Every surface hummed with quiet, controlled power. And every single person who glanced at Rowan seemed to ask the same silent question. What is he doing here? The one who didn't bother hiding it was the man waiting for him in the hybrid bay. Commander Relen Voss, tall, polished, wearing the kind of pristine uniform that screamed academy training and self-importance. "So," Relen said, folding his arms, "you're the frontier miracle worker." Rowan wiped his hands on his work shirt. "Just a guy who fixes things." "Right," Relen's smile didn't touch his eyes. "Amazing what a little political sponsorship can do for one's career." "Ah, so that was how the rumor mill spun it." Rowan kept his voice calm. "I didn't ask for sponsorship." "Of course you didn't." Relen stepped closer. "But you got it, and people will expect results." "Then they'll get them." Relen's jaw tightened. "We'll see." He turned sharply and stalked away, cloak swishing behind him. Rowan resisted the urge to roll his eyes. Every station had one of these guys, but this one had access to alien technology and a superiority complex. Dangerous combination. Rowan finally reached the hybrid fighter bay, a massive hangar occupied by the prototype everyone had been whispering about. It was beautiful. Human alloy interlaced with astraline crystalline conduits. Twin drive cores. A shimmering control interface that looked like woven light. The wings flared in a crescent shape, more like a living creature than a machine. But as the systems powered up, the entire frame trembled violently. "Still unstable?" Rowan asked a nearby engineer. "Unstable?" she snorted. "Try homicidal. The Alarans say our interface code is primitive. We say their power cores are temperamental. Both are correct." She stepped aside. "If you can get this thing running, I'll personally buy you dinner." "No pressure," Rowan muttered. He climbed into the access shaft, sliding under the fighter. The catalytic harmonics were mismatched, human logic systems trying to override astraline neural tech. An argument happening at the speed of light. He stayed under there for hours, running tests, rerouting conduits, crawling through impossible spaces. By midday, sweat slicked his face even in the cool bay climate. A voice echoed from above. "You work with impressive focus." Rowan jerked upward, his head hitting metal with a dull clang. "Ow, damn it." The face leaning over the edge of the fighter was unmistakable. Lyrana Vey, not in her diplomatic attire today. She wore a fitted engineering vest over gleaming fabric, subtle metallic accents tracing her collarbone. Her hair was tied back, but a few strands fell freely, catching the light. "You all right?" she asked, sounding faintly amused. "No permanent damage," Rowan said, rubbing his head. "Probably. You seem at home here. That makes one of us." She tilted her head. "Do you regret coming?" "Not yet," he paused. "Ask me again after Commander Relen stops breathing down my neck." Her expression sharpened. "He is territorial." "You don't say." "He believes humans should not be involved in hybrid systems development." Her golden eyes darkened. "He believes your species is unpredictable." Rowan shrugged. "Well, he's not wrong." That earned him a small smile. "One of the many reasons I recruited you," she said softly. That word again, recruited. The way she said it made it sound like he was chosen for far more than an engineering role. Rowan cleared his throat and gestured to the fighter. "You said only a few specialists can interface with astraline tech. Why?" "Our neural matrices respond to intention as much as logic." She stepped closer, her voice lowering. "Most humans approach technology as a tool, something to control, to dominate. And you do. We approach it as a partner." Her fingers brushed a crystalline panel, and the fighter hummed in response. "It listens to us when we listen to it." "So it wants to be treated gently?" Rowan asked. "Firmly," she corrected, "but with respect." "Sounds like someone else I know." She blinked, and for just a moment her composure cracked, surprised, almost shy. A long, charged silence stretched between them. Then Relen's voice cut through the bay like a blade. "Representative Vey." He bowed stiffly, not respectfully, obediently. "Must you distract the staff?" he asked, not bothering to hide the irritation. Rowan braced himself, but Lyrana's voice turned ice cold. I do not require your permission to be here, Commander. Relan stiffened. Of course, Representative. And Mr. Hale, she continued, turning to Rowan, carries my full endorsement. Treat him accordingly. Relan's jaw clenched. He bowed again, this time more grudging than the last. When he left, Lyrana exhaled slowly. I apologize, she said quietly. He has been difficult since I ended our arrangement. Rowan blinked. Arrangement. She hesitated. An engagement, she finally said. A political one dissolved 2 years ago. Rowan stared. That explains a lot. Yes, she murmured, unfortunately. Before he could ask more, a sudden violent crackle tore through the hangar. The hybrid fighter's core flared bright, too bright. Get back, Rowan yelled, but he was too close. The power surge burst outward. Lyrana moved faster than any human could react. She grabbed Rowan and pulled him behind a structural pillar just as a wave of electrical force blasted past them. The sound hit like thunder, the air rippling with heat and crackling discharge. When it settled, alarms blared. Engineers shouted. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Rowan blinked, trying to regain his senses. Lyrana was still holding him, one hand braced against the wall behind him, the other gripping his arm in a protective, almost instinctive gesture. Her breath brushed his cheek, and her golden eyes were inches from his. She didn't move. Neither did he. The world around them blurred into background noise as they stared at each other in stunned silence, heat and adrenaline pulsing between them. Are you hurt? She asked, voice low. No, Rowan whispered. Are you? Her lips curved just slightly. I don't break easily. She didn't let go. He didn't ask her to. The moment stretched too close, too intense, too dangerous for reasons that had nothing to do with exploding fighters. Then the bay lights flickered. Rowan didn't consider himself easily shaken. Years of patching failing reactors, dodging explosive decompressions, and surviving on stations held together by budget cuts and duct tape had hardened him more than people realized. But the fear in Lyrana Vey's eyes, that changed everything. She stared at the burned symbol scorched into the hybrid fighter's hull, her golden irises narrowing with a mix of anger and something Rowan had never seen in her before. Worry. Real, visceral worry. For them to leave a mark, she whispered, means they wanted me to find it. Who are they exactly? Rowan asked. Lyrana's jaw tightened. A faction within my dominion, extremists. They reject unity with human space. They reject diplomacy. They reject me. She paused, and they are becoming more bold. Rowan studied her expression, hard, guarded, but shaken at the edges. Okay, he said carefully. But why involve me? They already did, she murmured. When they sabotaged my ship, when you repaired it, when you refused payment. He frowned. What does refusing payment have to do with anything? Everything, her voice softened. Most people fear my station. They bow, they flatter, they obey. You did not. She met his eyes. That is not something my enemies overlook. Rowan swallowed hard. Great, he muttered. So now I'm on an interstellar hit list. Lyrana's hand brushed his forearm, barely a touch but grounding. I will not allow harm to come to you, she said quietly. And something about the way she said it, steady, firm, almost vow-like, sent a shiver down Rowan's spine. Shockwaves of the explosion rippled through the facility. Teams rushed to contain the damage, alarms echoing as emergency shutters retracted overhead. Commander Relan stormed across the hangar floor toward them. What happened? Relan barked, eyes darting between Rowan and Lyrana. A deliberate power surge, Rowan said tightly. A targeted one, Lyrana added. The dissidents left their sign. Relan went pale for the briefest second, then masked it with polished arrogance. We should evacuate the representative at once. No, Lyrana said sharply. I'm staying. Relan stiffened. That is unwise. Your safety is my concern, she cut in, not yours. Relan's jaw flexed. He tried again. With respect. Commander, her tone dropped into frost. You are dismissed. Relan looked like he'd swallowed a knife, but he bowed stiffly and retreated. Rowan released a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Does he always take orders that badly? He asked. Lyrana exhaled, exasperated, weary, but amused. Only when he disagrees with them. And he disagrees because... She gave him a long, pointed look. Because he believes he should be the one standing at my side. Rowan blinked. Former... Betrothed, she said simply. Oh, yes. Well, he rubbed his neck. That explains the way he looks at me like I stole his favorite chair. Lyrana's lips curved slightly. Commander Relan believes humans should remain in their own sphere. He thinks your species is chaotic, undisciplined. Again, Rowan said, he's not wrong. She laughed softly. A sound so rare and warm Rowan had to look away for a moment just to steady himself. He fears what he cannot predict, she said. And you? Rowan asked before he could stop himself. Do I scare you? Her gaze found his, slow and deliberate. No, she said, but you do unsettle me. It felt like gravity shifted around them. Rowan opened his mouth to reply, but the hangar doors slammed open. Director Kessler strode in, face pale. Representative Vey, he said, voice tight, you must see this. They followed him to the central console, where a holographic feed flickered into view, static interference, fragmented visuals. Then a voice, filtered, distorted, but unmistakably hostile. Lyrana Vey, the voice hissed. You continue your betrayal. You poison our legacy with human filth. You defy the Dominion, and now you hide behind a mechanic. Rowan felt his stomach twist. The distorted voice continued. We warned you once, now we act. The hologram shifted, showing a schematic of the facility. A blinking red marker hovered over the habitation wing. Rowan recognized the room number immediately. His room. Rowan's blood ran cold. A pulse of light flared in the image, small at first, then blossoming into a violent explosion. Lyrana's breath caught. No, she whispered. Kessler slammed a fist on the console. They targeted his quarters. The blast sensors confirm it. Rowan staggered back. I wasn't there. It was a message, Lyrana said, stepping closer, voice trembling with fury. They want you afraid. They want you isolated. They want to punish you for helping me. Rowan stared at the feed as the flare died and the room collapsed inward. He swallowed. If I'd been there. You weren't, Lyrana said firmly, grabbing his wrist. Because you listened to me and stayed late in the hangar. There it was again, that touch. Firm, protective, too intimate to be casual. Kessler's voice shook him back to reality. We must relocate Representative Vey immediately. No, Rowan said abruptly. Both turned to stare at him. Rowan straightened, shoulders tense. If they're targeting me to get to her, she's safer near people who can actually fix things, rather than diplomats who only argue about responsibility. Kessler bristled. Mr. Hale. No, Rowan said again, voice harder this time. I'm not stepping aside because a group of extremists wants to play gods. Silence fell, then Lyrana spoke. Rowan Hale. He turned, she was close, too close, golden eyes burning like molten metal. You are no longer safe, she said quietly. Then neither are you, he replied, a breathless pause. The secure wing of Meridian Spire wasn't built for comfort. It was built to withstand orbital bombardment. Reinforced walls, automated shielding, multiple fail-safes. And yet Rowan couldn't shake the unsettling truth. The closer he walked beside Lyrana, the more dangerous everything became. She moved with purpose, long strides echoing down the metallic corridor. But beneath the composure, Rowan sensed a tension, a taut, vibrating alertness she usually hid behind diplomacy and poise. When they reached the central security chamber, a dozen guards snapped to attention. All astraline, all heavily armed, all staring at Rowan like he was an anomaly in their equations. Director Kessler gestured to the holodable. Representative, we isolated the message origin. A rotating schematic appeared, deep space outside Dominion borders. Rowan frowned. That's empty. No, Lyrana murmured, leaning in. It's worse, it's unclaimed. Unclaimed space, which meant lawless territory, black markets, raider fleets, mercenary enclaves, and one more thing. Dissident hideouts, Lyrana said quietly. Kessler cleared his throat and turned to Rowan. Mr. Hale, until we know more, you will remain within the secure wing. Under guard, you are now a high-risk target. Rowan opened his mouth to protest, but Lyrana cut him off. He stays with me. That landed like a shockwave. Kessler blinked. Representative. His presence complicates the dissidents' calculations, she said. They expected fear, withdrawal, weakness. Instead, he remains, and that makes him unpredictable. Lyrana turned to Rowan, her posture still regal but her eyes softening at the edges. Unpredictable, she repeated. Exactly what they hate. Rowan swallowed. So I'm a strategic inconvenience. You are more than that, she said before she could stop herself. There was a moment, charged, fragile, where nothing existed except the faint pulse of the holodable and the space between them. Then the alarms shattered it, piercing, violent. Red lights flaring through the chamber. Breach detected, the AI blared. External system compromise. The guards scrambled. Holopanels flickered. Kessler cursed under his breath and sprinted to the console. Rowan felt a chill crawl up his spine. Is that them? He asked. Lyrana didn't blink. Yes. Multiple screens lit up simultaneously, displaying intrusion points across the facility's network. The dissidents have initiated a coordinated strike, Kessler said, voice tight. They're not aiming at our systems, they're aiming at yours. Mine, Rowan asked. Lyrana exhaled slowly. Your personnel file, clearance records, genetic identifier, neural scan metrics. They are trying to strip your protections, to make you accessible. Accessible how? Rowan demanded. Lyrana hesitated. Through abduction, she finally said, or erasure. The room froze. Kessler spun around. Representative if they gain access to his neural signature. They won't, she snapped. Seal the network, cut external links. We already did, Kessler said grimly. They're still inside. Rowan felt the air change. Lyrana's composure bled into something colder, something dangerous. Then she touched the holodable. A command pulsed through the system. The screens flickered once, twice, and suddenly the view shifted to high-resolution surveillance feeds, stitching together the entire secure wing. Rowan's breath hitched. The dissidents weren't hacking from afar. They were here, in the building. A figure moved through the outer corridor, cloaked in astraline armor, sleek matte black, violet energy pulsing along its spine. An infiltrator, Lyrana whispered. They breached the physical shield. How? Rowan asked. They used old codes, she said darkly. Codes only someone close to the council would possess. Rowan caught the unspoken meaning. Someone betrayed her, from inside her own dominion. The infiltrator reached a junction point, pausing with predatory precision. Then the armored figure turned and looked directly into the nearest security camera. The faceplate retracted. Rowan's stomach dropped. The man beneath the helmet was unmistakable. Commander Rellan, Lyrana breathed. The betrayal hit her like a physical shock. Her fingers tightened on the edge of the holodable. No, she whispered, not him. Rowan stared. Your ex-fiancé is a dissident. Impossible, she said, but her voice cracked. He was raised for diplomacy, groomed for alliance, bound to tradition, loyal to the Dominion. He would never. The infiltrator, Rellan, lifted a device and pressed it against the door control panel. The lock hissed, melting under concentrated energy. He was breaking through. Rowan's pulse surged. If he reaches this room, he won't. Lyrana straightened slowly, the sorrow in her face hardening into resolve. This ends now. Representative, a guard began. I will speak to him, she said. Alone. No, Rowan snapped. He tried to kill me. He blew up my room. And now, Rowan, Lyrana stepped toward him, placing a hand against his shoulder. Her touch was cool, steady, grounding. He will not harm me. How do you know that? Because he still believes he loves me, she said quietly. Rowan's jaw tightened, and that gives him power. No, her golden eyes lifted to his. It gives me power. The look they shared was too raw, too revealing. A guard's voice cut in, panicked. He's bypassed the last lock. Rowan stepped in front of Lyrana. Then I'm not letting you go alone. Her lips parted, not in command, but something closer to fear. Rowan, if something happens to you, it's too late to protect me by pushing me away, he said. I'm already in this. A long, painful moment. Then Lyrana closed her eyes, exhaled sharply, and nodded. Together, The moment Rellan's weapon ignited, the room fractured into motion. Guards dove for cover. Kessler yelled for emergency shutters. Energy crackled through the air like a storm about to break. Rowan didn't think. He moved. He grabbed Lyrana's arm and pulled her behind an armored column just as Rellan fired. A beam of violet energy scorched the spot where she'd stood a heartbeat before, carving molten lines into the floor. Rellan, stop. Lyrana shouted, voice ringing with authority and pain. Stand down. But Rellan wasn't hearing her. His face was twisted, not with hatred, but something worse, desperation. You were mine, he whispered, stepping forward. My future. My bond, and you tossed it aside to chase unity with them. To chase him. His gaze snapped to Rowan, cold and venomous. You broke her, Rellan growled. I will fix what you damaged. Rowan stepped forward before the guards could react. Fixing things is kind of my job, he said. Unfortunately for you, murder isn't on my service menu. Rellan's eyes flared. You dare. He lunged. The blast came fast, too fast. Rowan barely registered the motion before Lyrana moved, intercepting the shot with a shield of brilliant astraline energy that burst from her outstretched hand. The impact shook the room. Rellan staggered back. So did Lyrana, her breath catching. Rowan caught her before she fell. You said you don't break easily, Rowan murmured. This isn't breaking, she whispered. This is choosing. The shield dissolved from her hand. like starlight fading into air. Rowan turned toward Relan, fury building inside him, not anger for himself but for her. You tried to kill her once already, Rowan said. Do it again and you'll find out what humans are actually good at. Relan sneered. Violence, survival, Rowan said, and loyalty, things you clearly never understood. Relan roared and charged. This time, Rowan met him halfway. He ducked under the first hit, grabbed a fallen guard's stun baton, and slammed it into Relan's side. The shock sent the ex-commander stumbling, armor flickering. But Relan recovered fast, too fast. He struck Rowan across the jaw with a gauntleted fist. Stars exploded in Rowan's vision. He hit the wall hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. Rowan, Lyrana cried, stepping toward him. Relan seized his chance. He grabbed her wrist, yanking her close, pressing the charged edge of his weapon to her throat. Stop, he whispered. Stop fighting me. Her eyes hardened. Let me go, Relan. I can't, he breathed, shaking. The Dominion needs you, I need you, we can salvage this. We can erase the human. Rowan is not the problem, she said. Your obsession is. Relan tightened his grip. This is your last chance, he said. Return to me or what, she whispered. He hesitated. And in that moment, Lyrana's expression changed. No fear, not even anger, just sorrow. Goodbye, Relan. Her free hand pressed flat against his chest plate, and with a single whispered command in her native tongue. His armor froze. Not physically, but internally its neural systems locked, seizing every motor relay, every synaptic link, rendering him immobile. His body stiffened in mid-breath, eyes widening in panic. Lyrana, what are you? Ending this, she said softly. Relan collapsed to the floor as the armor deactivated, leaving him unconscious but alive. Rowan exhaled shakily, adrenaline still burning hot through his veins. You could have done that earlier, he asked. I needed him close, she said quietly. Close enough to confirm the betrayal, close enough to stop him without killing him. Rowan gave a strained laugh. Remind me never to upset you. Lyrana stepped toward him, eyes widening as she saw the bruise forming along his jaw. She cupped his face gently, her touch cool and steady. You are hurt, she whispered. I'll live. You terrified me. Rowan blinked. I terrified you. She nodded once, her golden eyes shimmering, not with light this time, but with emotion. You walked into danger for me, she said. You stood against a trained commander without hesitation. That is not bravery, Rowan Hale. That is something far more dangerous. And what's that? She swallowed hard. Care. Silence settled over them, heavy, intimate. Then she leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his, a gesture of meaning among her people, a gesture rarely given. He closed his eyes, letting the moment anchor him. I told you, Rowan murmured, I'm not walking away. And I, she whispered, am done pretending I want you to. Security teams swarmed the area. Relan was taken into custody. The dissident signal was traced and neutralized. Kessler confirmed the infiltration was over. Hours later, Rowan found himself on a balcony overlooking Meridian's glowing skyline, patched up but exhausted. Lyrana joined him quietly. The council has issued a formal declaration, she said. About Relan. About you. Rowan blinked. Me. She nodded. They acknowledge your involvement in stopping the dissidents. And they recognize your continued proximity to me as acceptable. Acceptable, Rowan echoed. Wow, I feel honored. Lyrana laughed softly and leaned against him. You should. The council rarely approves anything. And you? Rowan asked gently. Do you approve? Her golden eyes met his, clear, bright, unguarded for the first time. I choose you, she said simply.